President Talabani, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you for coming.
It's been 9 years now since Saddam Hussein was toppled, someone you fought for years to get rid of. Has this new Iraq turned out the way you thought it would?
Yes, I think the collapse of dictatorship was the beginning of new Iraq. Instead of dictatorship, we had now a democratic system. We have freedom for all parties, all newspapers, all groups, without any kind of obstacles in the way. Newspapers are free. They're attacking president, prime minister, government. From different sides, they are attacking and explaining their opinions. So this kind of freedom, Iraqi people were thirsty to have it. And it is now one of the main signals of new Iraq. Also, we have free election. For 3 times we have election. Listen, my dear, in the last election, Prime Minister went to court to complain. And I told him, my dear, it is better for you because you are a Prime Minister. You headed the campaign and now opposition is satisfied. You are complaining. This is a signal that election was very free. So we are proud also to have such a kind of election in our country. And you know, we developed. The standard of life was $3-4. Now reached $3,000, $5,000 a year. That is a kind of and Kurdistan, you saw it, which is a part of Iraq, is developed very much. And any place in Iraq we have security, there's a kind of development of construction, of rebuilding the country. So of course we have some shortage. We are still in need to have a real national unity among different groups of Iraq, but it is good steps forward we had.
Let's talk about Kurdistan, if we may. It's more powerful now, it seems, and more prosperous than at any time in its history. What is the next step?
Next step is to strengthen democracy in Iraq and to build infrastructure of our society and to develop the country as much as possible. I like to explain for you one point. It is true that we have also asked for right to self-determination, but we use this right to self-determination through Iraqi federative democratic system. The Iraqi constitution, which is insisting on unity of Iraq, of the united federative system, got 59 votes in Iraqi Kurdistan, where this constitution didn't get any kind of support like this in other parts of Iraq. So it means that the Kurdish people showed his determination to remain within the framework of a democratic federative Iraq. So we are always for having democracy for Iraq. We are still struggling for consolidating and to as much as possible to extend democracy, to strengthen democracy, which be a kind of guarantee for Kurds and other Iraqi people.
You've said in the past that regarding independence, even though Kurds long for it, that independence would be impossible. But so much has changed here, including the neighbors, close relations with Turkey.
You know, we must be very frank with you. Not only independence is not possible, but also now in the interest of Kurdish people to remain within the framework of Iraq. You know, this century, this era is not the era of small countries. It is of big unity. Look to Europe; they are trying to reunite. Look to other countries. So we are in Iraq through within the framework of democratic federative Iraq. We are in engaging all activities, and we have all kinds of freedom, and we have all possibility to rebuild our country. For otherwise, you know, we must be realistic. A politician who wants to serve his people must lead people in the way which is serving its interest. Imagine Kurdish parliament here decided independence. Turkey, Syria, Iraq, Iran didn't send arms, but only closes the borders. How you can come to here? So we must be realistic. We are struggling for our, we are now enjoying our rights. Within the framework of Iraq, we are enjoying all our rights, freedom, reconstruction of the country, prosperity. You have seen Kurdistan within these years how it developed from a country which was the oppressed for years and years. Now, you see, we are surviving.
And more than survived, you've done very well. But
Yes.
there is a tension with Baghdad. It seems to be the worst crisis, perhaps, between.
No, we have, listen, we have differences, but we have also common goals, common aims, and common policies for many things. This is not, I don't say this is a crime. It is differences. We have differences. But this is some kind of differences among friends, among people. For example, we consider our party is a friendly ally for us, even though we have some kind of differences with them. Here we have, with Kurdish opposition, we have differences. The differences are a signal for democracy. It is a good sign, not bad. We must have different views, discuss to reach through dialogue, reach good results. So I think all issues, all problems between Kurdistan region and Baghdad can be solved easily. And I'm here to do for this work.
That's very good to hear. You've been trying to convene a political conference for some time, and during the Arab League summit, they set aside their differences.
Yeah, unfortunately, in the last moment, some friends, I don't want to mention them, but they listen, they are hearing me, put some obstacles in the way of the, they have some preconditions, which we must go to this meeting to solve problems. Some of them asked that we must solve problems, then go to the Congress. Well, if we solve a problem, there will be no need for the conference. So we are going to the conference, National Congress, for solving problems. So I think this can be also, this obstacle can be pushed away in the near future, and in the end there is no way but to reach agreement through dialogue.
The dialogue seems to be the problem, though, because the leaders won't even sit in the same room. How will you fix this?
You know, this is some kind of, I like to explain for you. Some people talking about the isolating of Sunnis, which is not true. I'm Sunni. Look to the Iraqi government. President is Sunni. Speaker is Sunni. Deputy Prime Minister Sunni. Many ministers are Sunni. If you go to look to the map, we see many Sunnis, but someone is neglecting Kurds. They said, Kurds, they are Kurds. Yes, true, we are Kurds. But if you talk about the religions, we are Muslims and Sunnis. So I think there is possibility to solve all problems. And of course, there are majority, minority in everywhere in the country. And majority is trying to have some kind of more rights than the others. But I think all Iraqis are convinced now we are in need of national unity. We are in need to have a kind of consensus among Sunni Arabs, Shiites Arabs, Kurds, Turkmens, and others.
One of the problems here has been one of your deputies, the Sunni Vice President Tariq alHashemi, who was given refuge here in the Kurdish region and then allowed to leave in spite of the arrest warrant. Will you let him come back to Kurdistan?
You know, I like to explain for you, it was not giving him refuge. Mr. Hashemi is first vice president. You know, I appointed him first. He came to a meeting with president and with other vice president, Dr. Khazaya. When he came here, after that, the court asked him to go to the court. He didn't refuse to go to court. He said, I'm afraid in Baghdad. We asked that to change this place of the court from Baghdad to Kirkuk, which is part of Iraq, which is under the control of central government, not a part of Iraq Kurdistan. So they refused it. When they refused it, he stayed in Kurdistan. He didn't go to Baghdad. I don't know if he will come back here or he will stay outside. But this issue, my opinion was to solve it through dialogue among leaders of Iraq. Because if we send him to the court, perhaps he will be sentenced. We don't want him to be sentenced. And we also need to kind of consensus about his issue, his problem. Perhaps some of his bodyguards committed some crimes, but Tariq alHashemi is still president, vice president. He was not sentenced, and any man until he is sentenced will consider to be innocent. So he is not
convicted.
Committed. So I don't know he will come back. I hear that he's now in Turkey. The Turks announced that he's for physical treatment or something like this.
When you look around at Kurdistan, particularly with the new generation, they don't learn Arabic. They don't seem to feel much connection with the rest of Iraq. What is there still that ties the Kurdish region to Iraq?
Look, the new generation didn't see the rule of dictatorship, didn't suffer from dictatorship, didn't see revolution, didn't test the difficulties, the tragedy of the Kurdish people at that time. So they came to a liberated country, they came to have a freedom, to a prosperity life concerned with the past, and you see now this gave them impression that they got it only here. But in the past, there was some kind of connection between Kurdistan and Baghdad before Saddam Hussein. For example, students go to study there. Now they have universities in Erbil, Suleymaniye, Duhok, other places. They are studying here. They are not going to Baghdad. So, but Arabs coming to Kurdistan and the Kurds going to Baghdad. This relation is still alive. But the new generation still in need of some kind of experiences to understand the importance of the relation between Kurds and Arabs, and especially when they look to the historical relation between Kurds and Arabs in Iraq. It was always good among people, not government. Believe me, when the government's fighting Kurds and Kurds going to Baghdad, they were received as brothers. So we are in need to explain for new generations the importance of the brotherhood, of the relation among Kurds and Arabs.
There are some who are saying that Prime Minister Maliki is on the road to becoming perhaps a dictator if he continues to consolidate power. Do you believe that?
No. I think there are some mistakes. There are some shortages, but it's not only him responsible. If you look to the realities, I am also responsible. Why I am silent? I am president of the country. I am responsible according to articles that to look for everything, to guard the constitution. If I see any violation for laws and country, why I must remain silent? I must also speak. It means that we are all responsible of this shortage in the government. Why our ministers are not talking or not saying some kind of disappointment. So there are, of course, some mistakes from the government, but we are all responsible, including myself.
One of the hopes for Iraq had been that with Saddam removed, it would be a model for human rights. We haven't actually seen that. There are all sorts of human rights abuses still, both in Iraq and the Kurdish region. How would you rate Iraq's record
I think
on that?
human rights in Iraq and in Kurdistan respected as much as possible. Uh, of course, there are some kind of violation here and there, but if you look to in general, you will see that all Iraqis enjoying their democratic rights, the right of freedom, the right of expression, the right of meetings, of demonstrations, of opposition. This is some kind, we are a new democracy. We are in need to learn more and more about democracy, human rights, and others. And I think comparing with the past and with our neighbors, we can give an example for human rights and democracy.
You had wanted U.S. troops to stay. You were one of the biggest advocates for a military presence here. What effect has it had now that they're gone?
I was for having American trainers in Kurdistan and in Iraq. We are in need to, because we got new arms from America. We haven't any officers who were trained on this, while we had thousands of officers trained with Russian arms, with Soviet arms. So we are in need to, when we are buying, for example, tanks, we are in need to someone to train our officers, to our soldiers to use it. So I think we are in need of this. Second, the Americans proved that they didn't come here, as many people were making propaganda, to take our oil, to take our... They came here and went back without taking with them one barrel of oil, So the presence of an American force here for training, for helping us, was in the interest of Iraqi people. I didn't call for having a huge American army here, a symbolic base for here or 2-3 bases. I think it was in the interest of Iraqi people. And there is one important thing which is sometimes neglected. Look to the world. How many countries they have American bases in their country without losing their independence? Germany, for example, Japan, and many other countries. Since the beginning of liberation of Iraq and the presence of American army, we did what we want, not what the Americans. For example, I will give you 2 examples. At the time of Ambassador Bremer, he tried to elect one people, I don't want to give his name, as president of the country. We refused, and we proposed that Sheikh Ghazi. He tried too much. We said no, and then in the end we elected Sheikh Ghazi as president, not what the man whom he wanted. So we are in the last election. In the last election, the Americans were not for electing me or Maliki, but we elected.
But they supported you.
After. In the beginning, no. In the beginning, they were not for having me again. But when I was elected, they showed that I can play a positive role. They supported me. Now my relation with them is very good, with Americans.
If we could talk about Syria, Iraq has taken a very fine line on Syria, being very careful to say there should be no intervention. And the Kurdish government has gone further, saying that there should be an end to the regime. What do you think should happen in Syria if violence doesn't stop?
We think that there must be reform in Syria. We are for having democratic rights for Syrian people. We are for solving problems within the framework of Syrian sovereignty among oppositions and government. We are against military interference in Syrian affairs. We are afraid from the alternative.
What would be the alternative?
Alternative will be a democratic system which will be welcome, but we don't know what will be. And some people, even in Arab world, threatening us that after a collapse of regime of Syria, they'll come to for Iraq. Iraq will be changed also. We are afraid from this kind of call, of this kind of propaganda.
Does that mean it's better for Syria to stay the way it is, despite the violence there?
No, I think it is the problem of Syrian people. Syrian people must decide. We are for having the right to self-determination for Syrian people, not some others came instead of Syrian people decide that this president must go, this must come. It is not the democratic way for change in Syria. We support the democratic change in Syria according to the desire of Syrian people.
The next talks on Iran's nuclear program are due to be held in Iraq, and you have quite close contact with the Iranians. Do you get the impression that they are going to compromise on that issue?
I think so. I had a good relation with the Iranian. I know them very well. I had met all their leaders many times from different times. I think Iranian, as a Muslim country, against the bomb. His Excellency the Ayatollah Khamenei many times explained that bomb is against Islam because it's killing innocent people with others. So they don't want to have bomb, as I think. But they want to have the technology. They want to have such a kind of things. They are in need. And I think this time they told me they are serious. They asked us to propose to the 5+1 to hold the meeting in Baghdad. And they told us we are serious, we are coming with new proposals, we are coming with desire to solve the problem. We told the Americans. I called the American ambassador and I told him that Iran is explaining that this time they are serious. I think they want to reach a solution, but not through threat and always saying that we will attack you, we will bombard you. No, this is uniting all Iranians.
What do you think those new proposals might be on the part of Iran?
I think there must be a proposal by 5+1. First, to prevent building the bomb, and second, to respect the right of Iranian people for peaceful technology of.
You recently hosted the Arab League Summit here, the first in Baghdad in more than 20 years, and you are apparently the first non-Arab to host the summit. What did that feel like?
I think it was a very good step forward for Iraq and Arab countries. Having Iraq within the family of Arabs, it is in the interest of Arab nations. Iraq is an important country. Iraq not a small country. Iraq a big country. Iraq a rich country. Iraq's strengthen to be added to the Arab world will strengthen the capacity and ability of Arab nations toward facing all problems in this area. So also it was in the interest of Iraq. As the founder, one founder of Arab League, Iraq was returned back through summit to the Arab world. It was in the interest of both Iraq and Arab people.
And for you, who spent so much time fighting Iraqi forces under Saddam Hussein, what was that like to be sitting there?
I must tell you this something, a comment was made by a journalist. I don't know him. He said this president is a very strange man. He fought decades against Iraqi army. Now he's defending Iraqi officers in Baghdad. Really, I was defending them. He's a Kurd and trying to have a strategic relation with Turkey. So I think we achieved our goal, which was democracy for Iraq. I was not dreaming to be president. Let me be very frank with you. All I was thinking to be member in parliament. But then they will elect me to be president. I'm proud to be elected by big majority or sweet consensus. But also, I'm proud that we have replaced the dictatorship with a democratic regime. Democracy was our slogan, always. The Kurdish National Liberation Movement was always holding the slogan of democracy for Iraq, autonomy or federation for Kurdistan. So democracy is achieved. We are proud to be one of the main forces of democracy. And in drawing the constitution, we played very important role to keep the democratic rights for people and for women inside the Iraqi constitution. So we achieved our main goal, which was democracy, and we hope to achieve the other goals for prosperity of Iraq. We had good experience in Kurdistan. It can be example for other parts of Iraq.
You've been such a part of history here, the struggle for Kurdistan, the struggle against Saddam Hussein for such a long time. How would you like to be seen in history? What would you like your legacy to be?
Pardon?
You've been such an important part of the history here for Kurdistan and
Yes.
for Iraq. How would you like your legacy to be seen? How would you like to be seen as what you did regarding history?
Well, I would be glad if they understand that I struggled for democracy for Iraq and for Kurdish rights within the framework of Iraq. I always, since I started my political activities, I was believing in the brotherhood and common struggle of Kurds and Arabs against imperialism, against monarchy, against dictatorship. So I'm proud to continue this. I will be proud if they understand my role in the Iraqi history.
And do you think there will ever be an independent Kurdistan?
I don't think there is no something impossible in the world, but in near future, I don't see any possibility for this.
What happens then for all those young people, particularly who want an independent Kurdistan, who don't see a future in Iraq?
I think the young people, if they will understand the importance of federation within the framework of Iraq, will be convinced. And if they will try to be realistic and to understand that now it's impossible to declare independence, they will support the democratic federation within the framework of Iraq.
President Talabani, thank you so much.
Thank you.